everyone. I'm so excited to have with us the founder of iCharge, Medina Getgagova, who will talk to us more about iCharge Point, that is a power bank sharing service delivered to Dubai's guests and residents through a network of fully automated vending machines that are accessible to the public via mobile application. We have Medina with us today, who'll be telling us more about it. Medina, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I want to ask you more about you now. First and foremost, simple question: what motivates you to get up every morning?
So there's something that I very often tell to both my employees and my own kids. People, there are dreamers and there are doers. Some people just dream of success or achieving some of their goals, and the other ones get up in the morning every day and work towards making it happen. So I want to be the person who is not dreaming of success, but the one who is achieving it. This is something that actually drives me out of my bed every day.
That's nice to hear. I'm glad to know that you're a doer. So then I have to ask, who in your life has inspired you on your journey to be a doer as an entrepreneur?
There's no particular person who inspired me. I think being an entrepreneur is something that I wanted to become since I remember myself, since I was little. And when I was small, we would go out with my family or friends or relatives to dine or to shop. And I would annoy everyone saying, in the restaurant, if I would own this restaurant, I would, change the menu. I'll do this differently and I would improve that. Or in this shop, they're doing this wrong. So I think I was always imagining myself, even as I was playing with my friends, an owner of a business, someone who works for himself. So I think my entire life, that was the path that I chose very early on.
So it seems like since you were young, you always looked up for a leadership position, right?
Yes. Let's say that.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right. So as a leader, surely, have you made mistakes? And I would like to ask you, what is the biggest mistake that you're glad you made?
I wish I could name one mistake that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. However, if you ask my mom, she'll say that the biggest mistake I made, that I didn't follow her footsteps and didn't become a doctor, which I'm happy I didn't do. So probably that's the one. But however, throughout the journey as an entrepreneur, I made many mistakes and I've learned from each of that mistakes. And those were very hard learned lessons. However, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. So I'm thankful for that experience, even if it wasn't the best one.
Sounds about right. So now, speaking of your mom and your family and your childhood, then I want to know more about your personal life and how you tend to balance time between iCharge and your personal priorities and passions.
This is really easy because iCharge is my personal passion and priority, but I do have a family. I'm a mother, so discipline helps to carve out enough time for my family, and I try to be as organized as possible and focus on what's important. And whenever there is not a very busy time at work, I could take an extra hours off and devote it to my family. And likewise, my family backs me up with my kids whenever it's a tough time at work.
So you seem to juggle iCharge and your family really well. So can you tell us a little bit more about iCharge? What inspired you to make iCharge? Where did the idea come from?
So I already had one successful business exit. I didn't plan to repeat it. I mean, the entrepreneurship journey. But my family relocated in Dubai, and this entrepreneurial itch, it hit me again. And then Dubai has to offer so much to do and to see. And as a new resident, I would go to so many places, and then like in the middle of the day, I would find myself without a charge. Then it was time when I still didn't have my license, so I'd have to order Uber, and then I'd had to beg waiters, do you have a charger to charge my phone? So the business opportunity, the market opportunity was right there in front of me. So this is how I decided to what I'm going to do in Dubai.
That's an excellent point, because there have been times as well where I would ask a waiter, do you have an iPhone charger that I can borrow? Do you mind if I just charge my phone here? And I think we're very lucky to live in the UAE, because you can actually drop your phone in a random location and trust that it'll be okay. So that's a good point. Like, I agree with you. And it's really great to hear about the story of iCharge and how it was born. So now, as a small business owner in the UAE, what impacts and challenges have you faced due to the economic shifts of the pandemic?
We launched right amidst COVID outbreak, and our machines are placed in the amenities of other businesses, most of them hospitality locations. So we're highly dependent on people going out, actually. Of course, this impacted our growth, and the less people there are, the less reach and exposure to new users. The pace of adoption was a little bit slower than we expected. However, still we're very happy with an adoption speed. The other issue is that once out there and once we started being placed in a high volume traffic places, we had to hire more technicians to perform cleaning, sanitization, to maintain safety for all our users. For some of the locations, we have to have 24/7 team on site. Those would be locations like Expo or Global Village. I mean, in regular times, we would just be doing cleaning once a day, probably. And now it's an ongoing cleaning and sanitization process. And UV lamps, sanitizers, disinfectants, they also add to the average cost that we're there.
It's interesting you bring that up, how the pandemic has taught you that your business runs dominantly, of course, by people going outside and actually using your product. In addition to the fact that given these stations are constantly being used and touched, you need to disinfect it as well. So that gives me a great idea about resilience in your nature. So what skills and tools and resources have you built to grow resilience and adaptability as a women entrepreneur?
The work ethics that I've been raised with since I was a child. Again, I'm coming a lot back to my childhood. So I have raised in a family where everybody worked hard, and I'm trying to pass that good work ethics to my kids now also. So showing up, putting in, staying until the work is done is something that I live by, and this is just part of who I am. And I think this philosophy that I adopted from my family has helped me to be resilient as is.
I'm going to go back to the personal questions and ask you, it's interesting you mentioned that it's something ingrained in your childhood as well. So where were you raised, can I ask?
Yes, I was raised in the south of Russia, in northern Caucasus, a small city which is called Nalchik, and I moved out to Moscow when I was 20 and lived in Moscow ever since, before moving to Dubai. Probably it had some impact as well.
I think it had great impact on you. And in fact, it's exciting to see what you're going to come up with next. So my question would be, what is the next step in your evolution as an entrepreneur? And what are you most excited about?
An interesting question, because the way I am, I can only concentrate on one thing. So I'm just putting all my hard work and hopes into iCharge. I'm incredibly proud of the service and how, being completely new to the market, it's so well adopted by both UAE residents and visitors. So I'm just excited and looking forward to scale it, to bring it into maturity. So this is my main focus at the moment. And I don't know what next chapter will be. I don't think I can predict that.
That's exciting to hear. And I want one last question out of curiosity. How is the AW program treating you? And what have you gotten out of the AW program?
This was one of the best decisions I've made, to be honest, because first of all, of a knowledge base that is offered throughout the program. Also connecting with so many amazing women entrepreneurs who are always there for advice, for support. And also, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. You cannot really talk about it with your family or with your friends. So being able to talk to someone who is in the exact same shoes as you are and going through same challenges, it's been amazing. I'm just so glad that I joined this program.
Thank you for that. I think, as the program, seeing like the women build a community and participate actively, there's not a moment the group is silent. And I think that's amazing how you all actually very rarely have met in real life, but you build this relationship online. And I think that's pretty fantastic.
We actually do get-togethers every now and then. We had a chance to build even a stronger bond.
That's great to hear. I'm really happy the value that our program has brought to you. For me, that's all I'm going to ask you today, Medina. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much. Thanks.